everyone. My name is Amy. I'm the owner of Ayanda Studios, which is a business that I started in 2019. And I'm going to be giving you guys a little chat just to talk about how I started my business after getting my fine art degree and the steps I took to get where I am today. As I mentioned, I did a fine art degree in painting. And after that, I went on to do a course called Business Acumen for Artists, which really equipped me with tools that I needed to create more of a voice and create a business around my skill set, which was making art. The first thing that I started doing was shifting my mindset a little bit, because I think as an artist, it's hard to see yourself as a business owner. You also want to remain authentic in what you create and what you put out. You don't want to kind of be part of this machine and this fast moving thing. But in the space where I made the shift and the decision to become a brand, it also opened up a lot of creativity that I didn't know, and playfulness that I didn't know that I had in my art making and in my creative life. So if you are choosing to take this route, it is empowering in a way, because it takes off the pressure of kind of the serious artist that deals with galleries only, but it also creates a space where it's super playful, where you are engaging with people that might not always be able to afford art. And it's been quite a special journey. So the first thing that I did was make that decision. I'm going to become a business. And I looked at branding. Branding is something that's so important when you're starting a business. It's basically the first thing that people see. You can have it your name, or you can be under a pseudonym. There's also another local artist called Constantia, and she has a thing called Dayfields, which is her name that she creates and sells her art under, which is quite lovely. So the first thing I did was I got a logo done. I had a few ideas. I didn't have a lot of money, so I reached out to a friend who was a designer, and we did an exchange. Also something that's extremely useful when you are starting out. Reach out to people who are creative and already have these skills, and see if you can trade, because you never know what might happen. So the mental shift, creating the logo, and then after that, I started leaning on social media a little bit more. It became a space where I played a lot, where I created new products as well. So I started using my painting skills on objects, painting on bags. I also started making clothing for a little bit. And I just kind of played around to see what was going to work for me in terms of my creative outlet and what was going to succeed. So yeah, I mean, at the time I had a bunch of different jobs as well, and I was playing around with making art, with creating different projects. I was also a waitress because I needed to bring in extra money, and that was quite difficult. And I was feeling extremely overwhelmed with everything that I was doing, and it was all kind of a little bit of a mess. So what I did was I actually just wrote down all of my jobs on one piece of paper, and then I circled what was serving me best, what was actually draining me and not giving me what I needed, not only financially, but emotionally. And I decided to kind of put more energy into the business and slowly let go of those part-time jobs that were essentially not giving me enough time to work on the business more, even though I needed the income. So I think that it's important when you are prototyping and playing with different things to not be afraid to take on that extra work that might not align with what you're doing. This is obviously something that's just worked for me, but it definitely kept me humble and also just, it put less pressure on what I was creating to make the income straight away. It also just gave space for whatever I was creating and putting out to see how people were responding to it, to see what might need to change, and not putting all my eggs in one basket, I guess. Things that I needed to repeat to myself daily while I was letting go of those other jobs and trying to create a business was to also just repeat things to myself daily, which really helped, which was, it's okay to be a brand. It's okay to build a community around visual branding and around these things that you are creating. and it's okay to run my creations as a business in order to have it eventually be my full-time job. And I think for me, that was also really hard because I obviously was creating things that were very personal, and I struggled to kind of know if it was the right thing to be doing, to kind of trust that that was going to be my main source of income. I don't know if that makes sense, but it was a difficult thing to kind of, I guess maybe a little bit of imposter syndrome over there. So yeah, I think like having these mantras and these things, not only when you go into studio to create your work, but to also say things, like it's okay to be a brand, I'm capable and deserve success in what I'm creating, is also important, because there is this element of the struggling artist kind of never getting what they quite deserve. And there's also the story of artists like Van Gogh who only did well once they died, which is not the best example. And, you don't want to be remembered as someone who just kind of survived. You want to be remembered as someone who did really well and, was happy and thriving throughout. So I think those mental shifts, even though people might think that mantras and saying things to yourself daily might not be useful, I think that it's really important to start your day with, and to start your studio sessions creating with those kind of mantras, and knowing that, what you're creating is good, important work. And sometimes it won't be good and important, but you're probably good enough to put that aside and try again. And then also to show up authentically and know that your offering is good enough for the people that you're selling to. So I think also, something that I needed to say to myself often was, it's okay that it didn't work out this time, and that you'll need to keep trying. And I think that's something that has remained true ever since I started doing this, honestly. I always have to recalibrate and figure out what's working for my business and what's not working for my business, especially in this post-COVID climate where it's really just so tough to navigate. Basically I'm doing a bit of jumping around, but after I started the business and was playing with a lot of prototyping things, I kind of landed on creating a online store which sells limited edition prints, original artworks, as well as kind of little gift store items with my artworks on them. So that's where the business is now, after playing around and painting on different things and having those side jobs. This is where I am now, where I am running a business and I'm not doing a bunch of other jobs, but it has become a lot more difficult because my overheads are higher. And I guess the stakes are higher because I am relying on a salary, which I wasn't before. Not relying on a salary from what I was building was really helpful at the time because there was a lot less financial pressure. But now, as amazing as it has been, it comes with its own stresses. So, it's okay that it didn't work out this time. I will keep trying. It's probably something that is such an important one to kind of keep saying to yourself. And even when you feel like you have kind of reached your goals, in a way, I feel like I have to an extent, it's important to keep trying new things and to figure out what the next step could potentially look like, what the next collaboration could potentially look like years down the line, and also to not be afraid of learning new things, even when you think you might know everything. You definitely don't. So how I got to where I am now is I started building community around what I was putting out. Instagram was a really great place for me at the time. I was just sharing my work very honestly and authentically. There wasn't any agenda really in the beginning, especially because I didn't have my online store. A lot of storytelling is built around my work and what I do. The fact that I'm a mum, the fact that I'm also a musician, that all kind of ties into the story of me creating and putting out what I do into the world. So I think that people are drawn to the honesty of that. Something that I have found over the years is building a community is very important. Your following isn't really your community. It is in a way, but it's a very different type of community, especially now with online and how fast everything's moving on the internet. I think that the most valuable community you can build is your subscribers list. So for me, that was something that I started about 4 years ago, very slowly. When I worked at markets before COVID, I also had a little booklet, and I asked people if they wanted to write in their email address. I use MailChimp for mine, so it's not a place where I get very spammy, but it's very much a place where I put all sorts of information on regarding what's changing in the business, what will be happening, what has happened, any sales coming up. I usually give promotions to my subscribers only, and I don't push those kinds of sales or promotions too often on my other public platforms. I keep that quite private in a way, and a lot of people, I think, know that. So people who opt in are aware that they're getting these different perks, and it's nice to be part of something. And it's always lovely when someone replies to a newsletter. They're just like, oh, it's so nice to hear from you. Thank you, Amy. And it's just a really lovely connection. Something that I heard when I was doing my business acumen for artist course was the 1,000 true fans theory. The theory goes that, it was proposed by Wired magazine's senior maverick, Kevin Kelly, back in 2008, that an artist needs 1,000 true fans to remain fruitful. And I found that quite interesting because 1,000 isn't actually that much, but if you think about it, it's actually quite a lot. And if you have 1,000 people that are truly engaging and are enthusiastic and are buying into you and what you are doing, then it's, well, according to Wired magazine, it will be. And I think I have about 1,000 subscribers now. And it's taken a while because obviously you get people that unsubscribe often and they think that they want to do it and they're like, actually, I don't really want to get these anymore. So it's a very useful, powerful thing to have a subscribers list. It's people who are really wanting to connect. So don't underestimate that. A lot of people that I talk to, when I ask them if they have a subscribers list, they say, no, I don't really have one, but it is a really important one.